Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Afterparty. This is not the coming in of the tide, but the leaving of the tide. The tide is going out, and this is the second part of our Afterparty.
Wait, Brandon got caught in the undertow. Hold on. Amanda's mom, go save Brandon.
Brandon, swim parallel to shore. Swim parallel to shore. Don't try to swim in.
Which way's parallel?
Along the shoreline.
The left, right.
We also need a fourth member and someone to edit the podcast because Brandon died.
Fair enough.
Oh.
Brandon died in the sea.
I'm back. It's fine.
Aw,
I
the
made it.
siren saved you.
Wow.
Now Brandon's in her thrall, though. Oh, well.
Brandon's just going to do random plugs about sirens. Go visit them on their islands. They won't eat you.
You know those hot ladies on the rocks? Go talk to them.
They're nice.
Nothing bad will happen to you.
Brandon, just remember, every 10 minutes or so, you got to do that plug.
They got candy. It's good.
Folks, we have a lot to get to today as the tide is going out. First, a section of the after party called Wow, You Did It. All about reflecting on the campaign and what we have accomplished together over these last 2 years.
Before we get started, I want to thank everyone who wrote in because this is after party at the end of Campaign 3 Part 2. Everyone wrote in questions about it. Thank you, everyone on Discord, everyone on Patreon, everyone on Instagram, and on bluesky.
Hell yeah.
We really appreciate it. And it's nice to... Here's the thing about Join the Party listeners. You're all very nice and respectful, and none of you are toxic. So it's very nice to give you all opportunities to talk to us and say stuff that we're asking for, which is really nice. And a lot of you had incredibly thoughtful questions. There's a lot of questions that I collected that we had already covered in part 1. So imagine there were 2-3 times as many questions as we're going to read out now.
Gotcha.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, thank you all.
Alrighty, let's begin then with Alyssa, whose child has probably tripled in her lifespan during the course of Campaign 3. Eric,
she's 99 years old now.
No, the baby was during Campaign 1, and now anyway. Eric, do you feel you were adequately able to accomplish your goal of being a heel with the DM glove as promised in the pre-theme song part of episode 1 of this campaign?
Oh, hold on. I have to talk to myself when I'm wearing the DM glove. Let me put it on.
Oh, no, it's here.
It's here.
Eric,
Oh,
if you just
no.
address that to your camera, if you just address that to your close-up, please.
Honestly, I didn't have to because Brandon kept trying to kill himself.
Fair.
I mean, listen, I think that I did a lot of stuff that I really wanted to, which is make sure that we had definite villains for you to fight against, use the classes that Mage Hand Press. There is some really basic DM advice, which is shoot arrows at monks, which is if you don't shoot arrows at monks, then they don't get a chance to catch it out of the air and throw them back.
True.
So being able to give everyone opportunities to explore this stuff and, the core narratives that also were built into the Mage Hand Press classes, like make the witch feel weird. And out of place. Give the sharpshooter things to sharpshoot, and give the mad bomber things to bomb. I think that I certainly touched on. So I feel good about that. There's another thing, and I've been thinking about this a lot as we've been preparing for what we're doing after Campaign 3. Is it's hard to make fights interesting in Dungeons and Dragons. It just is.
It really is.
So doing the multiple stage boss fight with the Harvester, I thought was really fun. The ship combat, I thought ended up being really fun. And I feel like I did my best in the last few episodes, but it's hard.
You did very good.
Thanks, Brandon.
Here is a nice follow-up question from Bella. Are you guys proud of the world and story you created? I feel like you pushed a lot of the boundaries in D&D storytelling, really departing from the typical, we start in an inn/tavern. D&D stories, in my experience of that kind, can be very interesting, but also very similar. And I love this observation because it's like we're going back and reverse engineering a lot of what Eric was talking about in the end of 2022 as all this stuff was fomenting and we were deciding what to do in Campaign 3.
Speaking of, I would really love to share the disclaimer that was at the beginning of the first episodes that we put out, because we were recording this in September 2022, and so much about Dungeons & Dragons changed over that time into January 2023 when we released it. Okay, let me read it to you. Hello, this is Eric from the present tense of January 2023. We recorded this episode at the end of September, even before we recorded the one-shot Derby episodes. Remember that? We did that in between the Camp-Paign and Camp-Paign 3. This all happened before the open gaming license debacle with Wizards of the Coast, as well as their move to change the word race for species, but not really changing what it meant. More of a find and replace. What's funny is that this doesn't change anything that I or the rest of JTP folks have to say, other than it being novel that we're using species for our upcoming game, because Wizards of the Coast has been a bad steward of D&D for a long time.
Say it again.
The game they're selling you is not the game that we play at our table, or the game that you play at your table, and it is imperative that we keep this corporation's feet to the fire. This will all make sense when you hear the next section, as I will explain what we're doing in our D&D game set in Vertistello. Now, back to it.
Erican, would you give yourself a 12 out of 10 or a 13 out of 10 for prescience?
Very prescient, especially now that D&D 2024 is now fully like Overwatch or Fortnite.
Eric with the dodgeball of Apollo getting ready to spike it at all of us.
I need my Katy Perry skin. I need it.
It's just that and me using a term for Nepo baby before everyone came on to the term Nepo baby. Amanda and I called it Dad's the Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's the coach. I didn't hear that. That's great.
They might be a good player, but also their dad's the
But
coach.
also their dad's the coach, which is why they're on the travel team.
So,
You know, if they're not, the dad is not going to not have their son on the travel team.
Yeah.
easier when dad's the coach.
So yeah, that's me and Apollo's dodgeball.
So, Eric, fair to say that you feel like you did indeed push the boundaries of D&D storytelling with an all homebrew and indie non-Hasbro owned setting for this campaign.
I was trying, folks. It was fun coming back to a fully created world and doing it on our terms, which I feel like we did. But, you know, even that felt novel at the time when we were making this, and now thinking about where actual play is and where Hasbro, the company, is, it's like, it feels like we have to do something else to push forward the things that I was excited about when we started Campaign 3.
Yeah.
Brandon, Julia?
Yeah, I am very proud of like the world of Vertistello and the decisions that led to the story that we created. I feel like I could spend, you know, a 10-year campaign in Vertistello if we weren't like making a podcast and we were only meeting like once a month and, you know, everyone's scheduling conflicts were weird and it's a whole thing. But like, I loved this story. I loved the characters that we all had, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, I'm also very proud of it too. I think I at least I won't speak for y'all too, but I feel lucky that Eric likes to, I think, hopefully, and also chooses to take the burden off of us by heaving the boundary pushing of D&D storytelling on his back. I feel lucky that I get to just like sort of play in the space that he provides, and I think that's really a sweet thing to say. I don't think, you know, when we're playing it week to week, we're not thinking about that, so it's good to get that feedback that we're actually still doing it.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we've been making stuff at this level and at our size for, I don't know, 6 years now. If Join the Party started in May 2017, and Brandon and I were talking about that for all of 2017 when I started at SiriusXM in 2016, right? I think that we've been at the level of success and size and therefore, and also, you know, creative outlay for this since 2019, and it's 2025. And so much about actual play has changed under our feet while that's gone on. So the only thing we can do, instead of, you know, to me, we could be all move to LA and pursue trying to use actual play as a way to become, you know, actors or whatever. Or we can just keep doing this thing. And I think that we decided to, you know, just keep working on the artistic project that we did.
I would not recommend moving to LA during a pandemic either, if we could.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Brandon did that.
Was that bad for you?
It wasn't great.
We're glad you're happy in the land of the Amazon and
the land of no sun.
Yeah.
That's beautiful right now.
Debatable.
Yeah, look at all these crows that wouldn't follow me around in LA.
Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, not to take a quick sidebar, but the other day we did another class that this time it was called Crow Talk, and we
Is
learned.
that how they said it?
That's how I said it every time.
Good. Someone should.
I did see Lauren's post about that and
Hell yeah.
was like, yes.
We learned all about crows, baby.
Incredible. I really want to second what Brandon was saying. I just feel like I can be a very run-of-the-mill player in an extraordinary world and setting.
Boo! Amanda doesn't get to
self-talk.
tear down herself to compliment me. No. Brandon, get her. Brandon, come across the country and get her.
I know what you were trying to say, but you're very good.
Because my only exposure to D&D and the tabletop role-playing world has been on Join the Party and in home campaigns with Eric and Julia. I am therefore, this is my normal. And I feel so lucky that this is what I expect. And I imagine I'd find run-of-the-mill 5e very boring. I certainly found the D&D movie boring for that very reason. Again, I think it's some people's cup of tea. That's wonderful.
Want to
it's
point
not
out that
mine.
Amanda was trying to read on her phone with
Yeah.
the light on
That.
at like a press screening that we went to for the D&D movie.
Yeah. And then Eric said, you better step out. And I said, I will. I find it lucky that this is what I think of as normal, and I very much take this like genre pushing, boundary pushing, making something in the theater of the mind for audio specifically, where your imagination can turbocharge the things that we are doing and experiencing, and that Brandon's sound design is really lifting up, so that it feels like you're in the room with us. That is getting to my like theater kid heart in a way that I absolutely love, and to me is synonymous with actual play and tabletop games in general, and why they are so successful and wonderful.
Yeah. I'm sorry for booing you.
I'm not. Don't talk about yourself that way.
The tribunal says we're not sorry for booing you.
Suyu the Sable wants to know, Eric, how do you feel about not reaching 69 episodes? But also, Brandon, how do you feel about not reaching 69 episodes? Let it be known, I really wanted to do 69 episodes, and I was overruled.
Yes.
I intentionally did not want to do 69 episodes. I
Yeah,
wanted
how
to
do you feel about
68.
that, Eric?
I feel great about it.
Great. I also feel great about it. Uno reverse card.
No.
Yeah, we really got outvoted by Eric, even though the majority wanted 69 episodes.
Some things, Eric is the deciding vote, and that was one of them.
We honestly, like, there was a few episodes here and there that we needed to cut into, because one, they were very long, but two, life gets in the way when you're doing a podcast for 7 years. So we probably didn't even get close to 69, honestly, like in reality. But yeah.
And just also in things that happened in the last arc that I didn't know would take so long. I did not think that the Mango Crossing arc would take so long. So that's all other stuff that we ended up playing out. Yeah, right, because I got Joker-fied because I recorded like 8 episodes in 3 weeks. And that was over the Mango Crossing.
Oh, God, that was such a good 8 weeks or whatever.
I wanted to die.
It was
I
bad.
wanted to die so badly.
As the person who lives with Eric, I have to say, I'm not going back. We're not doing that again.
But as his creative partner in life, love, and podcasting, it was
That's
great.
right. That's right.
I'm going to be such a dick to you when we make the theme song for the next campaign.
So you also wanted to know, now that the campaign is over, do you plan to return to Vertistello at any point and join the party's future? It's such a wonderful world.
Thank you.
I mean, I think the answer is not yet. We don't have plans for it yet.
We revisited all of our campaign settings during the Rolling Bones live show tour. I definitely loved being able to revisit some of those characters in a live setting, so maybe that's on the table.
It's probably the one I would go back to live the most.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know what we're doing at our live show in Portland yet on
March 23rd?
On March 23rd, go to jointhepartypod.com/live to get your tickets now.
Oh my God, 2 live shows for the price of 1?
What?
Whoa.
Fees included?
Keep podcast weird?
Keep podcast weird.
Keep podcast weird.
I'm going to drink something so weird that night, guys. You don't even know. You don't even know.
There's going to be cold brew in my cocktails, folks. It's going to be
Ooh.
crazy.
It's going to be sick. Well, speaking of the theme song, Alistair said, even after listening to all 100-ish episodes, I am still blown away by how amazing your intro song is.
It's good shit.
How often do you find yourself humming it during editing? And any hints as to what music will look like for Campaign 4?
There's a weird thing that happens when you are dealing with the same material over and over again, whether that be like mixing a song for someone else or writing/composing a new song or editing someone's voice/ I don't know, trying to think of something that repeats over and over again, but like a promo or whatever it is, you have to listen to it over and over again, where like it sort of just stops sounding like anything and it suddenly becomes like the constituent parts and like white noise almost in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So I purposely don't listen to it.
Meanwhile, I have an opposite feeling, and it's mostly about editing my own voice, which is I will be sitting there editing on like hour like 2 or 3, and I'll be like, "Shut up, bitch! Bitch, shut
Oh, Julia, no.
Talk in full sentences, bitch! Come on!"
No.
I understand that. I have the same thing with me. I'm like, stop fucking pausing for 30 seconds between every thought, you dumb idiot.
I will say, I think it has gotten me more aware of how I talk on mic, editing my own voice. 100%.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely.
The theme song's really good. I think it's really good.
I love it. I listen to it every time I review a draft to join the party. It plays at the beginning and then it comes back again at the end. And I go, oh, thank goodness, because I wanted to hear it a second time.
I sing along with it every time. Like, I just a little hum.
I'm really proud of the lyrics. I listened to the theme song for the first time in a long time. When I was getting the episode description ready for the last episode, for episode 68, I pulled the lyrics from somewhere and I put it in there and I'm like, these are really good lyrics. Good job, Eric.
Yeah. And every time I listen to it, my experience is Lauren's got such a good voice. And then it's Julia's got such a good voice. And then it's Rue has such a good voice.
Yeah.
And then it's, man, Brandon can really sing. And then we get to the huh, and I listen to it myself, but I cannot hear it. I know I'm in there.
Yeah, I don't mean to imply that I'm not proud of it, because I am very proud of it. It was really fun to make, and yeah, everyone who sang on it and did sound effects and other vocal stuff for it were super fun and amazing to work with. But yeah, Eric was the best horror for sure.
It made me feel like Rick Rubin when I came up with that. I was like, bro, we're missing something. Can I go, huh? And then you're like, yeah, sure. And then I did it. Then it made the final cut. I'm like, this is what Rick Rubin feels like all the time.
Exactly.
Just in Shangri-La, combing his beard.
He should get a crystal DM glove.
Ooh.
Like when
yeah.
he puts on the glove, then he touches the mixing board. You're like, oh, something nasty is about to go down.
If I win the lottery, I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs, my Swarovski DMing glove.
Brandon, speaking of singing and music, it is about time to plug the siren.
Oh, right, yeah. If you guys meet the siren down the block and you're scared because she looks a little bit menacing, don't be so scared. She's very nice, and she'll give you a nice big hug if you just walk over there, swim over there, and say, hello, I'm yours forever.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'm now afraid of the new horror movie, which is a siren with legs. That scares me. We have already started talking about the next theme song.
Yeah, I don't want to give anything away. Probably won't have singing. May have other types of speaking words.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, we decided we did not want to have another theme song with lyrics, but that doesn't mean that doesn't mean anything. I think it was more that Sea Shanty needs the lyrics, but everything else is open for interpretation.
Yeah, it's really identifying what the song, the theme needs for what we're trying to do with it, and this one doesn't need singing necessarily.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to describe it without giving anything away.
Yeah.
It will make sense once we start talking about it.
I'm trying to picture that genre with song like lyrics, and I'm just like, oh, they would be so silly.
It would be very silly.
Really.
Speaking of genre, this is a great question from TJ, rolls 920 for hugs. I guess an overarching JTP question for me. The pod has covered the classic fantasy D&D realm, superheroes, kids at camp fighting monsters, and now bug and plant pirates. What do you all feel you've learned about yourselves and your play styles and GM styles through these diverse worlds, which we answered a little bit in our last after party, but I like doing this through the lens of the different worlds. And then TJ continues, what ideas and tropes and through lines have stuck with you the most from across these arcs? What keeps you excited to keep playing TTRPGs for strangers on the internet? For me, I really love how each campaign has a different theme about how human beings interact with each other. I think a lot of Campaign 2 was about responsibility, about how we use power. The Camp-Paign was about asserting yourself, in my view, and realizing that the people who are in charge of things above you and you expect that they have a plan may not have a plan, and sometimes it's down to you being there in the moment, needing to be the person that acts. And then I love in the pirate story how everybody thinks they're doing the right thing, and that really is one of the themes that stuck with me. I don't know what that theme is going to be for Campaign 4. I know some of the things that I'm excited to get at from a character perspective, but I love picking that up over time and looking back, knowing what, we were going through as a society, as, colleagues in Eric's life. Like, I love seeing the things that are on your mind and that I know are important to you that, you're working through figuring out. make their way into this art. And I really love looking back at the end of every campaign to sort of notice that through line.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love in particular both like in the games that we played and also the characters that I played for each of the campaigns that I've been a part of, the like themes of what we owe ourselves, what we owe our communities, and what we owe to each other. And I think that's something that when I'm doing character creation, I think a lot about the motivations in those themes. So that's something that I often think about before we even like start really talking about a campaign. I'm like, okay, what is this character's motivation, and what is the thing that they're going to owe to themselves, owe to the rest of the people in the party, and also owe to their communities.
Yeah, I like that. That's how I think about Campaign 2. Campaign 2 is when you're put in charge of a community, what do you do? The campaign was if you're a child or you're someone who needs the support of a community, can you do that and thrive, or can you navigate the people who are putting that community together for you? And then Campaign 3 was all about, can I serve myself and a community at the same time?
Yeah.
Yeah, as a player and play styles, each one is definitely different. And I think as someone who's not an actor, and I don't want to put any words into Julia's mouth or anything, or any other actor, but like the different campaigns for me have each taught me what I am willing to play, what I don't want to play, and where I'm willing to push myself. Both in play style, of course, because, you know, I also, like Amanda, you know, I had played a couple games before we started actually recording, but nothing major. So I learned how to be a better team player, and also like rein in my chaoticness and when to let it out, but also like what kind of characters I want to play and what kind of people I want to bring into our fictional world, and how I want them to interact with their world has changed over each arc, of course. Like, as much as you love Tracy, he is very selfish in my point of view, and sort of going the other way with that with Milo, and then coming into your own in the campaign, and then in this one reasserting some of the selfishness, but from a different perspective, from a more knowing and more fun perspective, like really learning what kind of playstyle I enjoy doing, and then moving in a way that I want to explore in the next one, which we'll do in the next campaign too.
Yeah, Umbi was much more cynical than I would say selfish. It's
yeah,
like,
that's a better word.
I'm doing this for me because I know what happens when I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna blow something up with my bombs because how else are we gonna get anything done?
Which, I think selfishness turned mature ends up being sort of cynical, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, or your community mindedness fermenting into the mead of cynicism.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets you drunk, so tasty, but a little hangover the next day.
Oh, we should have had some honey people, some bees that made mead.
Well, we had the whole island that we, you know, the hive structure in the like skeleton.
Yeah.
I bet there's a bunch of like bee monks that make mead somewhere out there.
Julia, I think you've invented that like 5 times.
Probably.
Probably. We have chartreuse monks, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we don't know, and we don't know what type
yeah.
of green folk they were, because that's why they're because that's the whole thing about chartreuse.
I just love monks, okay?
No, I respectfully, Julia, you have invented that multiple times.
That's fair.
Respectfully, make sure you shoot arrows at them.
There you go.
And I'd say as to TJ's final question about what keeps us excited to keep playing TTRPGs, I'm not done. I am excited to like see the next evolution of this. Brandon, as you were talking, I was thinking about almost like a you know, I watch a lot of food competition shows, and there is always the challenge where it's like, you know, make a basically like a bake sale. Like you're making an individual dish. All you want to do is stand out, and that's how I feel I brought my own energy to campaign 1. Then in campaign 2, I feel like I overcorrected a little bit, and I was like, okay, this is like a planned tasting menu. We have like many different, you know, courses, and like how are we all going to fit together and like make sure nobody's going in too much of a direction. Still really fun. But this felt like a potluck where you are thinking about, you know, there is a spreadsheet. Like you don't want to make exactly the same dish as somebody else, but also I trust that everyone else is going to figure out how they fit in the best way. And so I don't know if that metaphor, you know, works for everybody else, but it really does for me. And I like the potluck approach where you, again, like you want to be conscientious, but also you want to, you know, do something challenging or excellent for yourself. And in the end, I think the audience gets a balanced meal where all of us kind of bring our own flavors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more exciting. Like, you go to the bake sale that has unique but incredibly big and bombastic desserts where you're like, oh, an ube brownie, ooh, ice cream, ooh, whatever. You get to like move back and forth between the different desserts. This metaphor has gotten maybe a little bit too far, but I think it's a good one. I liked it.
I can ground this in a different way. I think it matters that Join the Party existed before Multitude existed and continues to exist as Multitude, the collective, but also our jobs grow and change. Increasingly, actual play seems to be someone's like foray into doing this, into creation, or it being the parasocial machine that runs parallel to the main outlay that people are doing. But it's nice that this just is and continues to be our actual play show that we're doing. And it's just nice to pour our creative and, gamesmanship, our creative energies into it.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, let's get really honest about your creative energy, okay? Will you come with me?
Sure.
All right. Nerd22 wants to know, was this entire season just to make a Lox joke? Because as we all know, there's salmon and the Lox, but also at the beginning, you kept referring to Vertistello as a bagel or Bialy-shaped world. If this season was a massive Lox joke, I swear, that is so absolutely ridiculously hilarious. It would be really funny. I support you. I love it.
Yes.
Great. Cool.
Damn, dude.
Damn,
Well,
dude.
Now, did I have it the entire time, or did people point it out to me throughout campaign 3, and now I'm just saying yes? Who can say, really?
can
But
say?
I'm saying yes now.
Yep.
Yeah.
N.A. Nicole asks, did you players have spare characters keyed up just in case something bad happened?
Yeah,
We already talked
no,
about
No,
Captain
I did.
Copernicus
No, I did.
It's
His name,
not
Captain
yours,
Copernicus, cause it was mine.
Brandon selected, invented from his brain whole cloth Captain Copernicus Cobb, I heard. Is that true?
Yes, exactly.
Julia,
Thank you.
why are you screaming? Why are you leaving the frame? Why are you taking off your headphones?
Why are you burning down your house?
Why is Julia driving to the ocean to scream at it?
I think I picked dig and roll one time instead of Brandon. And Brandon has been like, I'm stealing everything from Julia. Anything I could possibly steal is now mine.
Okay, let's talk about Captain Copernicus Cobb for a second. How did you envision... So if Cammy died,
Yeah.
what role would this older, disgraced corn pirate fit in?
He was not going to be a corn pirate,
Okay,
first
great.
off. I refuse to play a corn character. This is not going to happen.
Just a little corn cob running around.
I'm going to give you weird poops.
I was going to have him, I think, be from Hot House. And this idea of like these like trained military people who were then being sent out to find goods and resources that could be then used by Hot House in order to build technology.
Mm.
And then at some point he was like, actually, piracy's kind of fun. And then go from there. But I don't know how, I mean, you and I would have had to talk about how we would have incorporated him into the party and how they would have met him. But
Yeah. If I would have played him, he would have just been a bumbling corn cob. So
I think at the time I was watching BBC's Ghosts, and I really liked the captain character from BBC's Ghosts, and I was going to really kind of play on that archetype.
During the pandemic, Amanda's dad recommended the US version to us because they had a Dungeons and Dragons episode, and I said, okay. And then we didn't talk about it again.
Fair.
And then you sat in silence for dinner for 3 hours.
We were driving around to see if we could get good bagels, but all of the bagel shops had fully 50 people unmasked in them at all times, so we never got bagels.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes of the US version. It's not very good, but I love Rose McIver, who is the main character in that. So,
Oh,
yeah,
she was
great.
in
I
the
gave it a chance.
Bee, Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, right, with Kristen Ritter?
I don't know if she was. She was in iZombie. That's what I know her from. And also
sure.
a Christmas Prince.
Oh,
Christmas
right,
Prince.
Christmas Prince. That's good.
Yeah, I didn't have any other backup characters. I'm never going to die. I'm also immortal, so I don't plan for the worst case.
Brandon, I have you on tape saying you're a bumbling corn cob.
But an immortal one.
I also did not have a backup. But if it came to it, I would have figured it out. I think I'd be more interested in taking over an NPC than I would in introducing a new PC, if that was an option. Depending on kind of what's going on in the campaign at the moment. But there were a couple times that I fully thought Troy might go down, and I was not thinking about what would happen next.
Yeah, you were just
Fair.
bawling your eyes out. We had to cut a lot of time.
A lot of just Amanda crying,
yeah.
and we're like, it's
Crying.
okay. Like, you haven't even rolled a death saving throw yet.
Yeah.
Amanda was crying so much she was farting too. It was so it was just like alternating
no.
crying and farting.
Yeah, I'm a tootsie little baby.
What NPC would you have
You
taken?
can have that for the soundboard.
Thank you.
I think, like Julia said, it would be a matter of like talking with Eric about his priorities, about what he thinks is interesting. I could definitely see myself like trying to find a way to integrate, Tessie the Storm with what the crew is doing, or maybe, one of the characters from the one shots that we did in Universe in Campaign 3. I really liked my spider plant captain.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
We were all going to be captains.
Yeah, we'll see. Right. But
just,
I mean,
just a party of captains if we get a total party kill.
Julia, if everyone's the captain, who captains the captains? And the answer is none of them, probably.
I would have loved the last campaign where it's Amanda playing the spider plant from the thing, me playing Captain Cornelius Cobb, and also Julia playing Captain Cornelius Cobb.
Well, you could play Captain Cornelius Cobb. I'll play Captain Copernicus Cobb.
What the fuck ever, man.
Twin corn cobs.
Twins! Here's a question from Mike. First of all, thank you so much for this story. Every campaign somehow surpasses the last, and you always leave me feeling both heartbroken and eager for more by the time I reach the end.
Sometimes I cut
too.
the niceness that people say because it feels really self-indulgent, but I kept this one. Thanks, Mike.
Mike continues, I wanted to ask, 1, is there a character choice that surprised you the most over the campaign? And 2, hey, Eric, are you planning a different heel turn for the next campaign? Eyes emoji.
I think Troy trapping his sister on the lake encounter ship really surprised me.
Same. I
Yeah,
thought
that's true.
I had you.
Nice. Yeah. Love to surprise people. Hell yeah. I was shocked when Kid Cervantes left with the Cloud Key after the Bullseye games. I thought, like, the game wouldn't let us progress beyond that same point without a key. And
Fair.
it did.
I was shocked when the key and Archimedes went off together and then had that like really hardcore sex scene.
It was
Is
very
it really
Brokeback Mountain
surprising?
of them.
It was it was beautifully shot, but it was kind of out of character for us.
Mhm.
You know that trope in movies where with the dead wife scene with the wife under the white sheets, and like I'm imagining that with those two.
Vaseline over the lens.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Eric, any of our character choices surprise you?
I think when Julia, it doesn't wreck my shit like other players in actual play wreck what feels like entire chapters of stories get sloughed off when Emily Axford steps onto the screen. But when Julia does something as Cammy, who is so powerful, which I started to adapt to at the second half of the story when people acknowledged how scary and powerful magic is, which was the whole deal with Piney, I think, in the second half of the story, especially Piney avoiding you at the pirate meetings and then everything that happened with Piney at the end. Just when you pulled out something that was so powerful that I just had to deal with when I rolled a 12, it really surprised me every time.
Was that the possession or was that the polymorph?
Those two, but I think that you would do something, just like do a spell that would just change everything. And I think that has to do with all the magic lovers getting into the D&D Next playtesting, whatever. But still.
You can tell when that happens because Eric will be like, that's just it. And it just works.
And I don't
And it just works.
like save. It just
I don't
happens.
get to do anything?
Yep. Good stuff. Eric, here's a very Eric-specific question from Dallas Douglas. In the hypothetical low-quality cap-cut edit of the story of Campaign 3, what do each of you think would be the highlights of your characters or favorite NPCs? Now, first, could someone explain this reference to me?
There are presets on CapCut, which is the partnered video editing software with TikTok that you can kind of just put presets in of like video clips or photos. And it kind of like is fan cam-esque. I think that's what kind of I've been thinking about a little bit.
Okay.
So just like each one of them getting dramatic moments.
I really think that Havana running back to us through the fire after deciding to stay in the Divine Labyrinth was a real moment there for me.
That
Made me
really
cry.
cemented everyone making Havana Tropicana fan cams.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel similarly about us like going for Gloria and bringing her out of the inner sanctum in the maze of like, oh no, we are making her part of this crew. Love it.
Troy's like wing reveal at the during the Bullseye Games arc.
We swoop
I
down.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
And maybe the first time you call Baba Rutabaga as Cammy. That was I was like, oh, this can happen? Like, amazing.
True.
And then for me, it's the hardcore sex scene between the key.
We have to include the Bullseye games falling apart, like the stadium falling apart. God, I need to look up the pun I made about the Boulder werewolf disease. A lycanthropy. When we hear the word lycanthropy for the first time, that one's for me.
Oh, that was so good and also so upsetting. All right, folks, this one is for Eric specifically from Shelby. What is the arc, character story, or world-building element you're most proud of in this campaign?
Lycanthropy.
Yay!
I felt really good about that. I was feeling frustrated with where I kind of drew myself into a corner by making this underwater prison, which I wanted to do.
You put yourself into an underwater prison?
Yeah, I was in an underwater prison.
That's self-sabotage.
I feel like I started too many questions and didn't have enough answers. And when I started to figure out what happened in the city that made it vulnerable to getting taken over by the Diamond Knot, I was like, oh, the lycanthropy. That really helped. That really helps the whole thing out. And it fleshed out Gloria too. It also helped with like the black. I knew that there was a secret Gloria room, which you all didn't even need, but like the blackberry wine being involved in the whole thing, and then the brine, the pickle brine keeping people alive, that all kind of really came together for me.
Yeah.
Now, who else is just thinking glory hole? Who else is just having an intrusive thought of the word glory hole?
I think that's just you, Amanda.
I think that might just be you, buddy. Let it go, like a leaf on the breeze.
All right.
Gonna put that one on the old soundboard too.
I'm going to pop into the kitchen to get us some blackberry juice spritzers for the rest of this after party. And
Amanda's going to put her head in the freezer and cool down while getting us food.
We call that the Arctic Glory Hole. We'll be right back, folks. We'll be right back. Hello, it's Amanda. When everything is a lot, I love to be wrapped up like a burrito or maybe a baby. And so today's midroll is brought to you by rolling yourself up in a duvet or comforter, depending on where you live and what you call it, and transporting your bed blanket to the couch. Sometimes, folks, we need that kind of support, and I highly recommend you check it out if you never have before. There's nothing like duvet on the couch, okay? Thank you and welcome to our newest supporter on Patreon, Nicole S. Thank you for pledging some real-life money to help us make this real-life show. If you also want me to thank you by name in the midroll, you gotta join Patreon as a paying member. Now, you can follow us for free on Patreon to just get updates about the show, leave us after-party questions, all that good stuff. But if you want stuff like our bi-weekly party planning podcast, our patron-only Discord, which is so adorable and is filled with photos of cats laying in the sun and dogs enjoying their crates, you have got to join at patreon.com/jointhepartypod. Remember, folks, lots happening in the Join the Party universe right now. My last plug for the Plant Pirate Dice, that's at jointhepartypod.com/dice if you want to remember Vertistello forever in your beautiful Dispel dice with kraken eyes and flowers and octopus tentacles. You've got to get your pair. Once we sell out of our Plant Pirate Dice, we are not making more. So don't be like the folks who wish they had Chad dice and cannot ever get Chad dice. Go to jointhepartypod.com/dice. Next, we are having a live show in Portland, Oregon, along with Spirits on March 23rd. Those tickets are available at jointhepartypod.com/live. We can't wait to be there. We're highly encouraging masking, by the way, so if you are immunocompromised, disabled, or COVID cautious, we got your back. You can come to the show. Do that at jointhepartypod.com/live. We are also having a drinks pop-up. Listener Nick and his wonderful partner Maya are doing a pop-up around the corner from the Multitude Studio on February 20th. That's next Thursday. Oh my God, only 9 days from now. It is free to attend. You don't have to pay a cover charge or anything. Just pay for drinks if you want to, and make sure you tip Nick and Maya, okay? Come on over. You can RSVP for free at jointhepartypod.com/pop-up. And finally, some housekeeping. Next week, we are going to begin the One-Shot Derby. We'll tell you more at the end of this episode, but we are so excited. It's going to be 5 weeks of the One-Shot Derby, and then It's Campaign 4, baby. We're getting right into it. There's nothing interstitial. It's just the one-shot derby and then right into Campaign 4, the channel for Campaign 4 guessing and sort of like supposing what might be happening. I'm forgetting this word. It's called speculation, is live now in our patron-only Discord. So come on over, enjoy, and I look forward to hearing your theories. There's a ton happening at Multitude these days. I'm recording this mid-roll after recording an episode of Spirits, which means that I am just in a bubbly, wonderful mood, as if you have gotten to hang out with your bestie and talk about one of your favorite subjects while making jokes. That's what I get to do every week with Julia, and it is so much fun to be 400 plus episodes deep into our 8-year-old podcast about mythology, folklore, queerness, feminism, modern adulthood. We have grown up on this podcast, and you can come over with us. We want Spirits to be a place where you can come and think about the stories we tell each other and laugh and also feel something, and I hope that it's something you really enjoy, because I love making it. So listen, go to spiritspodcast.com or just search for Spirits wherever you download your podcasts. Jump in anywhere. You don't have to catch up on all of those episodes, but shout out to the real ones who do. We are sponsored this week by Green Chef. They are a meal delivery service that makes it easy with recipes curated for a variety of lifestyles and dietary needs. They have pre-made sauces and pre-portioned ingredients, meaning there's less prep and less mess, meaning more time where you can savor their delicious restaurant quality meals. I made something a couple days ago and thought to myself, that only used one bowl and one pan. That's a real feature. I love that. So if you want to create eating habits that last, Green Chef makes that easy because you use fresh organic produce and quality whole foods delivered to your door each week. You get to stay on track with whatever you want to do with your eating this year, even on your busiest days, with salads ready to go in 5 minutes or less, ready to blend smoothies, and grab-and-go protein-packed breakfasts. I feel like I'm tagged in this photo. I need to do more protein. Thrive all year with clean, easy meals from Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/jointheparty free and use code jointhepartyfree to get started with free salads for 2 months, plus 50% off your first box. Thrive all year with clean, easy meals from Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/jointheparty free and use code jointheparty free to get started with free salads for 2 months, plus 50% off your first box. Have you ever wondered what might happen if a fictional reality TV cast found themselves in a D&D campaign they didn't know they were a part of? I never have, but candidly, now I am. Luckily, there is Welcome to Real Housewives of Dungeons & Dragons. This is an actual play D&D podcast following the Real Housewives of Anaheim as they're dropped into a fantasy world and have to learn how to fight or catfight for themselves. Featuring guest stars like Will Campos from Dungeons & Daddies, Heather McKinney and Christy Wallace from Sinisterhood, and Daniel Montgomery from Fear Initiative. Hear new bi-weekly podcasts of Row D&D. That's a very good joke for those of us who know The Housewives, wherever you get your podcasts, plus access to mini campaigns based on other reality TV favorites like The Traitors and coming soon Below Deck on their Patreon at patreon.com/housewives of D&D. Now, back to the show. All right, everybody, I'm back. Are you enjoying your Martinelli sparkling apple juice and blackberry juice spritzers?
It's delicious.
Yes.
Hooray!
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm fine. Why
it
would
took
you
you
ask
30
me that?
minutes to do that?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
All right.
I had to harvest and squeeze all the blackberries, and then wash my hands because it looked like a crime scene where I killed a purple alien.
Oh no. So specific.
Folks, I'm very glad that I had the chance to wash my hands so thoroughly after that break, because our next section here of the after party is What Had Happened Was, where we talk all about specific events, episodes, and unanswered questions from the entirety of Campaign 3. But before we do that, it's important that we don't cross-contaminate anything from our world into the world of Vertistello. So what we're going to do is scrub in with the question surgeon, Michelle Spurgeon, MD.
Oh, very good. Very good.
I'm washing all the way up to my elbows.
You gotta. All right, so a list of excellent questions from Dr. Spurgeon. First, Dr. Spurgeon would like to know, what was up with those hive mind greenhouse head guys? That was another horrifying reveal that should probably be in the CapCut version. Eric, what was up with them?
They were
Hothouse.
Just creepy creepy guys from Hot House using the hive mind tech?
That was important because it was supposed to signify that they were from Hot House, and it ended up being more important later because it created the rotten key, but it was supposed to be that Hot House was trying to smelt their own keys instead of playing by the rules.
Right.
It was a very sort of there's like a signifier that like the Messiah is going to come back when there's a red heifer that you sacrifice for it. And in a book that I really like called The Yiddish Policeman's Union by Michael Chabon, where instead of what happened with Israel now, the Jews, they made an Israel-like country in Alaska. And there is a whole subplot of genetically modifying the reddest, purest heifer to bring back the Messiah.
Yeah, they're actively trying to do that in like Texas.
Oh yeah, they're doing that right now. But that's like the Christian Zionists are doing it to hasten back Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
What a cool book.
It is
It's
such
cool.
a good book, yeah.
Yeah, it's a noir set in alternate history Alaska. It's very cool.
I like that. I love that.
Highly recommend it. Dr. Spurgeon asks, do you wish you'd been able to touch on anything else in your backstory?
I don't think so. I was kind of anticipating, Eric, you bringing back the like paladin that tried to take in Smelly Haze in the second Legends from the Past episode. I thought somehow they were going to come back into our like current story and like storyline. So I was anticipating that, and I was like, that would be cool to explore. But also, then I kind of forgot about it like 2 arcs later.
Guaranteed Eric would have immediately killed them with some sort of hilariously silly trap.
Very possible.
Something about Cammy's backstory is I just loved, in similar inspirations from, I guess, some of the offshoot stories of Game of Thrones, but also from the Becky Chambers oeuvre of sad things happened to you in the past and now you're a cool space pirate.
Yeah.
I really like that for Cammy, that the stuff that happened to her in Open Fields was terrible and traumatic, but we are never going to see these people ever again.
Yeah.
And I think that Cammy did a really good job of dealing with people from the past in the Bullseye Game episode. So I'm like, I feel like we're all set. I feel like we got it. And especially when Havana had his religious episode, as happens in season 2 of every television show, had to do that. And I think Cammy just kind of dealt with it. I'm like, all right, good. Now Cammy can deal with being an incredibly powerful magician.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't think
What happened?
I tried. What's the name of Buffy's male sidekick?
Xander.
I just tried to Google Buffy man, and what came up was Buff Men. And it was not what I wanted. I was going to say, remember when Xander gets really evangelical in season 2? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but also in True Blood, also in Friday Night Lights, there's always an evangelical plot line in season 2 of every TV show.
Now, are we not going to acknowledge that Amanda is just talking about glory holes and buff men this entire after party? Or
No.
Brandon, I'm trying to move on and get more questions answered.
Listen,
Okay,
2
great.
such examples in 47 minutes of tape is about average, okay? It's about average for me. I felt very satisfied with the amount of Troy's backstory. Obviously, Three Lips was a really entertaining through line and then tragic through line that happened throughout. And Diana Lee's appearing. That was another shocking moment, I have to say, that I did not expect and Eric did not, forecast to me in any way. And was just incredibly exciting to see that character from the past arrive in our present.
Yeah, bringing Diane also kind of unlocked quite a lot of fun stuff to happen in that whole arc, which I was happy about.
So cool.
Yeah, and I've said similar for Umbi. Like I'm very happy with it. I intentionally avoided touching too much on his backstory because I think for Umbi, like his past is dead. So like he didn't want to touch on it, and I commend Eric for still finding the humanity without that ability. But yeah, I mean, obviously we could have done lots of cool stuff with Umbi and his backstory, but I don't think any of it would be terribly relevant to the Umbi that he is today. So.
I thought it was funny every time we tried to really bring up any sort of like Umbi past, like, oh, Umbi's daughter or, oh, Umbi's ex-wife. Brandon was just like, no, that doesn't exist and it won't ever exist.
Or did it?
Oh, okay.
Who can say?
Who can say?
Is Umbi lying? Am I an unreliable narrator?
You
and
are.
yes.
Definitely.
Yeah. It was all funny. I mean, the only thing that we really pinned down was like he was a representative of Overstock, which we did see, and then Umbi's just strange Ronin walking around Vertistello solving weird problems was really
Love
fun.
that for him.
I think you said strange, and I think you meant to say cool.
I meant weird. Like weird. Umbi was brought in for
like Doctor Strange.
Like a monster. Like you were playing your very own Monster of the Week campaign.
In your life. Yeah, that's a good way to look at life.
Yeah.
And finally, from Dr. Spurgeon, who was your favorite NPC and why?
Havana Tropicana, and I do not need to explain.
I love Syl and Harold. I love them. I'm going to be thinking about them for the rest of my days anytime I see a splotch on the side of a vehicle of any kind.
Kid Cervantes. Kid Cervantes.
I want to give a shout out to Tessie the Storm and Piney. I really liked playing them. They were a lot of fun.
What a duo.
And famously, you're already on record for loving Archie.
Oh, right. I said Archie before, but I feel like Archie's gotten their due for sure.
Yeah.
From Sarah KH. After rooting in vain for Dianelise to switch sides, I wonder why was she so convinced? Aside from the alliance with her family and sibling rivalry, was there something that the Diamond Knot promised her, either tacitly or implicitly, that so deeply motivated her to thwart Troy's efforts? Great question.
She believes in power. She believes in that the powers that be would take care of her, and she was an agent of that power. And it certainly helped that her brother currently took power that was so fleeting in the cracks.
Yeah.
I think she just believed that she had to do what she had to do, and Troy was fucking it up.
It's a great question. And her motivation was like really like it both makes sense. And also I desperately wish for there to be something else that Troy could just be like, oh, they're blackmailing you. Of course I'll take care of it. But no, like sometimes people you want to count on, you can't count on them, or they believe the narrative and you so clearly see that is a false promise and you can't convince them otherwise.
My motivating factor for playing Di was she cannot be convinced. Troy cannot convince her to switch sides.
Yeah, and people dig on their heels like that all the time. So I think it's very normal.
Which is why I kept bringing up situations of her kind of saying the same thing with only slight escalation of, Troy, stop it. Troy, you need to stop it. Troy, come with me and we can stop it and things will go okay. And every time I wanted to see if Troy would break and buckle.
Hell yeah, dude. Only buckling Troy does is his wings when he puts them away.
Nice.
I thought you were going to say a sex thing, so thank you for that.
Only buckling Troy does is when he makes a blueberry buckle for his grandma.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Stupid.
This is the asexual representation we need in the world.
Oh my god.
All right. Bento Kato said, so there were so many zombies in Terabang. What happened to the rotten key and the zombie anglerfish? They were in that horde at the very end, no?
Yeah.
In my mind, and I don't know what the answer to this is, but I think if the rotten storm had gotten destroyed, all the zombies would have died, like vampire rules. But I don't know.
I like the idea that in my head at some point they realized that we had gotten to the salmon first, and like in any cartoon where they're playing dodgeball, they're like, fine, I'm taking my ball and going home. And they just all walk away.
I think that without the motivating factor of getting its hands on the salmon, the rotten spirit that inhabited Audrey and then the rotten key just got frustrated and paralyzed enough that they took care of it. Like with something that's so single-minded, when you take away the A to B thing, then at least there's a moment where someone probably took care of it and then vampire rules. Yeah.
Vampire.
Like, it wasn't the ginkgo crab, but it was probably once the salmon portal closed and the rotten key was like, what? And then someone chopped off its head. Like, there's a moment of indecision with something so single-minded that someone probably took care of it.
No Hugs, Just Bugs wants to know, did Tessie the Storm die when the rotten key merged with her? If not, did she/they, plural, try to take revenge on the Sea Whip crew for Piney's death?
Nah, too gross when they merged. I can't tell you.
Fair enough.
That's fine. Bugs also asks, did Jeremiah Stalks make up everything about the keys? If so, why?
Yeah. Oh, man. Jeremiah Stalks, what a butthole. I don't love needing to make up an NPC in the single last moments of a story, but I think it had to explain where the Droughtstones came from in the first place. I think Jeremiah Stalks thought very literally, while Cammy didn't. And Jeremiah Stalks was like, just turn it back on. Stop it. And he didn't change anything. He didn't break the wheel. He just made the wheel turn again. And I think that was the issue that I was trying to get at, is that there's nothing wrong with the Tree of Life, but it's a tree, and it's going to get its roots into pipes at some point. It kind of signified how civilizations and people just kind of kick things down the road instead of fixing problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There was a great follow-up question I'm going to jump down to from Miriam. Please break down the 13 dried carvings for me. How does the prophecy of, quote, the water will slow to fall, but the tides are turning, find the infinite lake to replenish the world, and discover the salmon who will grant you a wish of whatever you desire? How was that split up into 13 pieces?
It wasn't split up into 13 pieces.
There was just 13 different carvings that said the exact same
The seedlings, once Jeremiah Stalks came back and said, I took care of it, then all of them in 13 different places in the basin of the Cascade made the drought stones and then said, all right, I guess we're done.
Wait, I don't think we answered, though. Did Jeremiah make up the keys? Like, make up everything, like the rhymes and stuff?
I think Jeremiah made up the lore.
Yeah.
Like he made it up to have some gravitas to the situation.
Yeah, I think he made up the lore. I think it might be some combination of, the planter putting its thumb on the scale, the diamond knot hiding them, etc., etc.
No Hugs Just Bug also wants to know, were the knotted tree roots the work of the diamond knot, or did the diamond knot take their name from the tree roots?
Ooh, maybe the second half. Maybe the second one. I like that.
Ooh, maybe.
That's
Ooh.
cool.
Who can say?
Ooh.
Very cool.
I came up with the diamond knot just because I thought it was an interesting name for a world government, but entirely possible with the tree roots.
You were foreshadowing it all along. And finally, from our friend Bugs, what played out when the crew stepped back through the salmon's pool into South Compost, where the Rotten Army and all the other pirates were still waiting? Do we have headcanons for this post-ending scene?
I think the word spread that the Cascade was turning back on pretty quickly and everyone kind of dispersed.
Yeah, I
Right?
don't think there was anyone there.
If I can go further on the thing that we said about how the Rotten Key went away, I think that Rotten the Storm was like, what? They got to the salmon portal? No! And then Kid Cervantes shot its head off.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then all the zombies disintegrated. And then everyone's like, oh no, all those people extremely died. And then the cascade turned on and everyone got distracted.
That makes sense to me.
Totally. It's like at a party, if somebody says oh, there's a different cooler party down the block, and then everyone just leaves. And it's like, oh no, I went to the bathroom and now the party's empty. Here are a couple more zombie follow-ups from Kat. Did any of you consider using your wish to get rid of or handle the rotten key or to unzombify people? If so, what led you to choose your wish over wishing for that? Kat, never occurred to me. I didn't care enough about anyone who got turned into a zombie, except poor Salix.
I was going to say Salix
except
is
poor
right
Salix,
there.
I know, but I had too much on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't think about it, but I also sort of just assumed that there was no going back, which is probably a silly assumption when you have a magic salmon, but I don't know.
I understand where you're all getting at, but at the same time, this felt like the point in the RPG where it says, hey, before you leave, save, this is the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right.
So it's cool. It's fine. It's fine.
And I think, yeah, we were less concerned about changing what has happened than affecting what will. So that was where we're focused.
Yeah.
Kat also asked, given that there were multiple times it got close, did you consider what would have happened if Umbi became Zombie? Zombie Umbi. And Kat has gotten many jokins in Discord for that excellent pun.
I think we kind of talked about if Umbi had died, if the water thing hadn't been what it was, we would have gone on a quest to bring Umbi back. So I think we maybe would have gone on some weird divine quest to cure the zombieism or something. I don't know.
That could have been fun.
It would have been fun, but just going around being like, brains! Brains!
I would have given you another character or something.
I do also like the name Zombie because in my head it sounds like Zumba, and I'm imagining Umbi doing Zumba,
It
and
sure
it's
does.
very funny.
That was on the table. That was all extremely
Zumba?
on the table. Yeah, Zumba was on the table. Especially at the pirate meeting when Audrey walked up. It was 100% on the table that Umbi could have died. Or zombified or something.
I mean, it wasn't, though, Eric, because he's immortal.
So, right, I forgot.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think that was on the table.
Zombie just reminds me of the show Zaboomafoo that I watched as a kid.
Yeah. I was at a wedding a week or two ago,
And Zaboomafoo was there?
Excuse me. God, I wish he was the ring bear.
That's cool.
Who's the ring monkey,
Bounce,
Brandon?
bounce.
Come on.
And we went to a bar afterwards after the reception, and they had like a TV behind the bar that was playing like, I forgot what they called it. It was like PBS Classics or something. PBS Retro. That's what it was. PBS Retro.
Cool.
And it was just Zaboomafoo the entire time. And I was like, oh, this is my place.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Damn.
That's amazing.
Love to age into the buying power demographic for which retro nostalgia is made.
Yep.
Genuinely very helpful. Eric, how did Arello end up with a key that hurts?
Oh, who knows?
Didn't he just, I think you just you narrated it and he just found it washed up on a
Yeah.
beach.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It was the key that still hurt got sent out during Amanda's one shot with the guests.
Correct.
When we blew up the whole cave and it upchucked us?
Yeah, and then it just kind of washed on shore. That's
Yeah.
right. I forgot about that.
Loaf of Brett says, remember episode 31 with the labyrinth burning around Havana? That was good.
That was good.
I did. That was in my cap cut.
Yeah, check out the CapCut version.
Yeah,
No question.
check out the fan cam.
No question. Chloe S.A. wants to know, how did Piney survive almost drowning and then get out of the ship and to South Compost so fast? So the order of events is the ship with Piney in the hole got itself very quickly to South Compost. But I assume that when we actually crash landed in the active fight, that there was a bit of a scuffle and Piney got away.
They also
Yeah.
canonically have teleportation
They can
power,
teleport,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, they opened a window and walked through, for sure.
Mhm.
Hell yeah. Mike asks, is there someone in the campaign you'd have liked to use benign dismemberment on, Julia, seeing as you couldn't use it on Umbi?
I did get to use it on Nani,
yeah.
and that was fun.
That was cute.
It was just one of those spells where I'm like, man, this has to have a purpose at some point, and I
Mhm.
gotta use it. But I was kind of picturing when I picked it as a spell, oh, well, if any of us got shackled to something or,
Mhm.
Yeah.
something like that. Or if someone got zombified, got bit, I could just dismember them and they would hopefully be safe.
There was something about the electric whip that I didn't get to talk about because by the time you found it, it was late enough in the campaign that I didn't want to introduce it. But if you'd found it earlier, the electric whip would have been the possession of a different pirate. And they would have been really pissed that you had it.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to do it. Or I kind of erased it from the item description before I ended up giving it out, but that was on the table.
That was where it all turned because that's where Brandon got real pissed at me.
Mike also asked, was Troy's wish planned in advance or did you come up with it in the moment? The wish of the salmon felt so fitting and like the perfect conclusion to the story. I honestly couldn't have imagined a better ending. It's just what felt good in the moment, baby. I didn't know what to do. And that's what Troy would have done, I think.
First thought, best thought.
That's the answer.
All right.
That's it, baby.
I remember sitting there and being like, okay, now I have to come up with a wish. Something I've been telling all three of you to think about the entire campaign. I guess I got to do it now.
Great Space Cow says, after finishing the last episode today, I can officially say that the Rising Tide campaign has been my favorite D&D campaign I've ever encountered.
Aww.
It truly feels like I was a part of your campaign and all I did was listen, laugh, and cry. Congrats to all of you for creating a world that was actually magic. I couldn't have asked for a better story and ending. Thank you. And then a number of wonderful questions. Starting with perhaps our most asked singular question. Eric, what else was on that dig and roll table? We gotta know.
Okay. On number 1 was the CEO whip, the electric whip. Number 2 was the serpentine horn, which
is like a cursed horn.
yeah, it
right?
was like a cursed horn. 3 was blowfish armor, which would let you swim better, and also you could blow up like a blowfish. Number 4 was nothing, which is what Brandon rolled first.
Nice.
Number
Sure.
5 was it was a mimic chest, but it was a frog tongue that would grab the first person who came within 20 feet. And
Brandon.
number 6 was there was a cave system under the island that we would have dealt with.
Wow. We only dug and rolled two times. Then, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. And I do
Brandon,
trust my
I told you, I felt so bad that you rolled a 4. I told you at the time in the episode that I felt bad.
Know.
I was like, 4. Who would roll a 4?
Who rolls a 4? No one rolls a 4.
Not
That's
certainly
silly.
not first. Who would roll a 4 first?
Who would roll a 4 first? If it's Brandon, he's gonna get a 1.
Yeah.
So, bunch more questions from Great Space Cow here. Were there any secrets similar to Troy being a royal prince that were never exposed? PCs? Players? Anything else? Anything else you were planning?
No.
No.
I still think it was really funny that I surprised Julia with the lottery.
Yeah. I didn't anticipate that happening.
Wait, you guys didn't talk about that beforehand?
No.
Oh, shit.
Julia,
Wow.
I knew that Cammy was an outcast. And I also knew that Cammy had been a pirate from a very young age.
Yes.
And that she also had lived in open fields. So she was cast out from her town in open fields. I did not tell Julia what I was going to do.
That's fun.
There's also a follow-up question to that. Do you hate the fact that Open Fields Town 1 in Hand was right that banishing Cammy would eventually bring the cascade back on?
Ooh.
No.
I don't know. That sounds right to me.
Is that not what happened?
Because if Cammy hadn't left, they would have killed her. And that would not have brought the cascade back.
Well,
I don't know,
therefore,
Julia.
banishing her saved her life, and you turned on the cascade.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I think they were right.
I don't think so.
I made that as a point in the monologue that I did in the last episode when the cascade turned back on. Throughout open fields, each township congregates in the town square to congratulate themselves on the particular brand of virtuousness that got them through the 50-year drought. I intentionally named that because I'm sure they thought that they did the right thing. Yes, they 100% would be like, good thing we cast out that weird child.
bummer. Brandon, what made you not want to take the peaceful ending the water offered Umbi?
Because Umbi doesn't want to die. That's the whole thing.
Because chaos.
Umbi's not afraid to die, but it doesn't mean he wants to die.
Yeah.
Umbi doesn't like someone else controlling his fate other than him. And yeah, I think he doesn't like authority, obviously, for lots of reasons, because they have failed him in the past.
Something about that I thought was really interesting and funny when Umbi turned the tables on the Waterer was that, yeah, Umbi doesn't like being told by anyone to what he's supposed to do. And It's really funny that that includes even a god who had a crush on him, who had a good suggestion. I gave the tastiest version of what listening to someone else might sound like, and Umbi still pushed against it, which I love.
I will say that I don't think Umbi is aware when people are flirting.
Well, I was also made. It wasn't even about that. The Waterer just being overtly nice to you.
Yeah.
Well, they're like, this is a god who is incredibly powerful. This is someone who thinks you're great and will continue to be nice to you, and gave you an incredibly soft landing, and like the lightest slap on the wrist for you defying the natural order of things, and still Umbi pushed against it. I loved that.
Yeah, but yes, and he thought that way because the people in the Senate were this, I'm sure he respected the Queen Bee at some point too, and the fact that they fucked everything up regardless.
For sure.
He has trust issues, is what I'm saying.
It's good. It's good stuff. That was the whole thing with Di. Di sticks to her guns. That was the whole thing with Baba Rutabaga. Baba Rutabaga sticks to her guns, and Cammy, I think, inherited that. It's great.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Where was the cloud key originally hidden, Eric? Who found it and brought it to the Bullseye games?
Who knows?
In the clouds. Duh.
I don't know. I mean, Kid Cervantes had it. Kid Cervantes probably did something comparable to what you dealt with in the Labyrinth to get the cloud key. Like, I don't know, but I'm sure you could write a prequel short story about it,
My theory is what we talked about in the fake play about getting the cloud key, where like Kid Cervantes had to scale like an Asgardian style wall to get to the cloud key at the top.
Yeah, Kid Cervantes probably shot down a massive bird to get it too. It was in the nest or something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Love it. Remember the puppets? Remember the Palladium? So good.
How could I forget, Amanda?
Eric, once and for all, who created the locks? Who created the keys? Was the planter involved? Because they did create the key with the gaze. My headcanon here is that the key with the gaze is just a weird quirk of green folk biology. And that was the fact that it was like replenishable, the fact that it was like, maybe grown or planted in something, that you could construct a maze around was the beginning of like the Diamond Knots key lore. And that's where the sort of idea came from them.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a good question. I think that the planter mirrors a lot of creation myths that I really like, some of which, are from my religion, but also some other ones that I see reflected, which is whoever created the world just kind of lets it be, right? And then they get tempted to put their finger on the scale, but it really messes things up. So I think that the planter probably, when they create, the planter was involved somehow in these keys getting created. It's like the salmon is too powerful. This thing cannot exist. It has all these wishes. I think the planter created the keys and then also made one of the gave the keys one of the keys too much juice and made it alive. And then locked the salmon up, and the diamond knot in the past, which was, an ongoing meeting of all of the rulers of all 4 of the countries, were like, hey, this exists. We should probably get our hands on it and build fortifications around it.
Yeah.
Because also the Blackberry Dragon was there, so it was a lot easier to know where it was before.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, bro, it was probably easy to figure out where it was at some point, and then it became super hidden. Yeah, I think that the Divine Creator put their hand on the scale and made it worse. So that's the vibe I was getting at.
Yeah. Makes sense to me.
Makes sense to me too. Nerd22 wants to get really specific on one moment from the final arc. So, in Legend of the End 3, the Rotten Key thinks, after being turned into a ginkgo crab and being merged with Tessie, Storm, Pirate Queen, I had hoped that after merging with Tessie the Storm, this wouldn't happen to me anymore, or something along those lines. And I assume this refers to being turned into a ginkgo crab. If that's true, has that happened to them before? And if so, who did it? Was it someone we know? And how many times has this happened? Because they did use the word anymore, which implies that it happens, if not frequently, at least twice before.
In my head, the rotten spirit has existed for a very, very, very long time and has battled with various magicians who has probably polymorphed them at various times, which is what I was thinking.
It's fair.
Love it.
That's fair.
That's so funny. And a question here from Ginger Ness. Hello, longtime listener, first-time question asker. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome. This season was so wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us all something so joyful and inspiring in this time that we are in. Now to the questions. We met the salmon. What a gem. Is the salmon its own deity, or is it a page fish for the waterer and the planter?
Kind of their own thing, a creature with incredible powers. That's just what happens when you create stuff. Oopsie.
Yeah, kind of like a Brando. If you could imagine like a Brando, sort of like a creature with its own special powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that.
I like it as kind of a Hermes to the gods on Mount Olympus sort of vibe.
Yeah, that hits. Speaking of a thing you created, we never got to see the metal frog used on Cammy's cape. What would the liminal space look like if they had trapped a green folk there for a round?
Big regret. Big regret.
I picture just the inside of the frog's stomach, very Jonah and the Whale style.
It just swallows us.
Yep.
Cool.
Now, it was more about having a tea ceremony on the rug, and the frog was a little doot, but I am now liking that you have to go inside the frog to have the tea ceremony.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Never know.
We'll never know.
And finally, it was Mandy Potash's wish to become a silly, goofy message at the